Hey y'all, I'm sugar and cake artist Shelby Bauer, and this is the Sugar Scoop. Today we're going to make a Kitsch style cake. This would be an adorable wedding cake or birthday cake. I'm really loving this design and I hope it catches on as a new cake trend. I love the exaggerated piped ruffles, garland, and borders. It has some vintage aspects, traditional piping, with some cottagecore vibes, and a little 80s. And who doesn't love an all buttercream cake? I'm making a strawberry cake with cherry filling and strawberry buttercream. I haven't tried strawberry and cherry together before, but I have a feeling it's going to be very good. I saved the prettiest cherries for the top of my cake. I baked a 5-inch cake and a 7-inch cake. I cut my cake boards to 5.5 and 7.5 to help me get a nice even 1/4 inch layer of buttercream around my cake. I'm dirty icing my cake, then putting it in the fridge. Now it's time for the final coat. Now I'm stacking the cake and then I'm going to put it into the fridge to cool off. Let's go over the piping techniques we'll be using today. I'm going to link all the supplies that I needed for this cake in the description below. I made these free PDF printouts. I just put a piece of parchment on top to practice. You can find them on my website. I'll link it below. First off, we have our buttercream garlands. I'm using a PME 7 tip to make this zigzag garland, but you can use all sorts of tips for this. You just apply even pressure and zigzag your hand back and forth. The hardest part about garland is getting the swag shape correct. That's why practicing is so important. For the pearl swags, I used a Wilton 5 piping tip. I'm using medium pressure and piping a dot. Then I'm releasing the pressure, trying to space them as evenly as I can. A trick with these is to wet your finger with water and press the tops down to get rid of the little spike. Ruffle garland. I love ruffle garlands. I'm using a 104 here, but I ended up using a 127 on the cake. It's a little bit bigger. Using even medium pressure, pipe ripples, moving your hand up and down. Let's spice it up and add a double ruffle. For the smaller shell, we're going to build up pressure, keeping our hand in the same place, then release that pressure and swoop forward to finish off our shell. To make it a border, you just add a few of these in a row. To make a ribbon border, I'm using an Ateco 70, which is a large leaf tip. Use similar hand movements to the ruffle. You're keeping even pressure, but moving your hand up and down. For the large shells, I'm using an Ateco 848. I want these to look kind of like a sconce, so I'm starting in the center of the final shape and piping, moving upwards and creating a fold over and coming back down, releasing pressure while making a swooping motion. Now my favorite border, the braided border. This always turns out so beautiful. I'm using the Ateco 828 again. It's pretty easy once you get the hang of it. You pipe a short line curving inward, then starting halfway from the top of the line you just piped, you pipe another line that curves over the end of the line you just made, and you keep repeating this until you have a braid. We're going to use the 848 one more time to make little buttercream cupcake swirls. They're going on top of the cake. The biggest tip I have for these is once you get the tip swirl, let the icing rest on the swirl below. Don't smash your piping tip into the bottom swirl when you're piping the top swirl. I hope this is all making sense. It's a little harder to describe piping than I thought it would be. To make a little 5-petal flower, you can use a 104 tip, or size down, or size up depending on the size you want your final flower to be. Pipe little petals, making a U or a teardrop shape with your tip. This takes some practice to get right. I overlap each petal. I'm going to make a few of these and put them in the fridge so that I can easily place them on the cake later. Okay, now that we have all our piping techniques down, let's put them all together to make our Kitsch birthday or wedding cake. Before we start piping, I need to mark the cake so our piping is even. To do this, I made a strip of paper that is the length of the circumference of the cake. You get this by multiplying the diameter of the cake by pi, or 3.14. Then I found the center of the paper, and using a ruler, I made a mark every 3.5 inches. Make sure your cake is nice and chilled so the paper doesn't leave a mark. I'm using a little veining tool to make my marks on the cake. Don't worry, these will be covered by piping. I did this on the bottom tier as well. I'm using a ruler to mark how deep I want each garland swag to drop. For the buttercream zigzag, I'm starting a little bit inside the mark so I can leave room for the big shell. I didn't like the way this shell turned out, so I'm taking it off and redoing it. It was a little bit too low. This is easier if the cake is colder, but I'm a little impatient, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm doing the ribbon border next because I think that would be hard to do once I pipe the ruffles on the bottom cake. I think this double ruffle is super pretty. I know it's not perfect, but once I'm done and we sit back and look at the cake, it looks really good all together. Also, this style is a little more charming if your cake isn't perfect. Now to add some finishing touches, I'm doing a small shell with the Wilton 21 and a little pearl underneath. Now it's the best part, adding the cherries on top. I opted for fresh Bing cherries because I love the dark color with the light cake. I've always loved traditional piping and royal icing and buttercream. This cake will make all of your cottagecore wedding dreams a reality. I really hope this trend catches on so I can make more of these. I have so many fun color combinations in my head. Let me know what you think about this cake style in the comments below. I had so much fun making this Kitsch vintage buttercream cake with you. If you enjoyed watching this video, please like it and subscribe to my channel. See y'all again soon.